To all my moms moving on, I have something amazing for you. If you're ready to move on from your engagement ring, the experts at Worthy can help you turn it into cash, fast and risk-free. Worthy does all the work, and their competitive auctions get you the best deal possible. Over 45,000 people have already moved on with Worthy. Are you ready to move on too? Visit worthy.com/moms to get an extra $100 when your jewelry sells for over $1,500. That's worthy.com/moms for a special bonus offer just for the Moms Moving On community. In your definition, what is financial abuse?
Yeah, it really can vary widely. Sometimes it looks like just beautiful affection at first because it's this manipulation of gifting somebody things or just slowly kind of taking control in a way that looks like it's a positive thing. But what some people find is over the years that, the more control that they give up, the more this other person takes on that kind of power imbalance and takes on that role of just not allowing them access in some cases, not allowing them to work in some cases. For some people, it is actually hiding money. Most of the time when we're talking about financial abuse, it more has to do with that power dynamic. But there certainly are times where one of the spouses is, moving money off the books. So there's all different kinds of financial abuse when working through divorce cases.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Moms Moving On. I'm so happy to be here with you. I have an old friend on with me today. Her name is Leah Hadley, and she's the founder and CEO of Great Lakes Divorce Financial Solutions, where she is on a mission to provide women compassionate financial guidance before, during, and after a divorce so that they can secure financial confidence and independence. Oh my goodness. If you're listening to this, you're nodding your head because you're desperate for some financial confidence in this divorce game. Leah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
So you have been helping. So give us the Leah pitch. I want to know how you fell into this as a specific niche.
It was a long and windy road. So I started my
Isn't
career.
It always? The best stories always are.
I started my career as a teacher. I have a master's degree in education. I taught third grade in Baltimore City Public Schools, and I got really burnt out in the classroom, and I took a temp job at an investment bank in Baltimore at the time. And it was just an administrative role. It was back when equity research reports were still being published manually. And so I was helping them to work with the software developers on automating their publication system. And I didn't know what anybody was talking about. When I walked into that investment bank, I felt like a complete fish out of water. I was educated. I had a master's degree. I didn't know what stocks and bonds were. I didn't know what a balance sheet was. I had never taken an accounting class. And I remember that experience very well because it was very overwhelming. And I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to ask questions. I felt like I should know this and I should know that. And that was my very first experience kind of in the investment world. And I was very fortunate. I had some wonderful mentors at that firm, and I was able to do all of my licensing exams there and actually become a equity research analyst and published stock reports.
Amazing.
And I mean, just I came a long way in a short time at that firm. I was very fortunate. We got bought out, it was 2008, 2009 when all of the firms were consolidating. And I went to another firm that was an independent sell-side firm that allowed me to really grow in my career and my responsibility, and really dive deep into stock analysis and valuation and learn a lot. Again, I had great mentors throughout my career, but we wanted to have a family. And so at the time I was married to my ex-husband, and that kind of role does not lend itself well to having a family and being present for children. And so I decided to give a try working with individuals and families just as a traditional financial advisor. And I worked for a big firm and quickly found that they have one way of doing things in terms of servicing their clients. And I like to serve people in the way they need help. And especially what I found was for those who are going through a divorce, traditional financial services are not structured in such a way that they really do provide the kind of support that people are looking for. And I had an opportunity when I was there to start learning more about divorce financial planning, divorce financial analysis. I obtained the certified divorce financial analyst designation at that time. And then went through my own divorce.
Oh
And
my
so I
God.
had a whole different view of what kind of support people need going through that process. My children were young at that time. My youngest was still a toddler. And so navigating like the co-parenting and, trying to figure out, especially that first year was an absolute nightmare. And the money was completely overwhelming. Now, this was back when, the housing market had really fallen out and we were underwater on our mortgage. And so like one of us was going to get stuck with the house. This wasn't a situation where we wanted the house, so it was a tough financial burden coming out of our situation. And so it really helped me to understand, the challenges that people are faced with. And it's not just about the money. It's about being there for your family and the, need of taking care of your kids and all of these different priorities conflicting with each other all at once and trying to sort through all of this. And so I've been very fortunate that I've been able to establish my own firm and really meet people where they're at in terms of how I can help them, both from my own personal experience, but now working with hundreds of individuals and couples over the years.
And it's such a need. I hear from women all the time, when they come to me for a consult or they fill out my intake form, they say, I need help figuring out how to co-parent and I don't know what to do about the financial piece, whether they're worried they're going to have enough money or worse, they have experienced financial abuse in the marriage, abuse of any kind, and now having to manage their own money and do that for themselves when they're so used to having to hide and ask permission. That's a huge transition. Have you worked with a lot of women who have experienced financial abuse?
I have. I've worked with a lot of women in this situation. And, it looks different in different families.
Yeah, I want to know in your definition, like what is financial abuse?
Yeah, it really can vary widely. And oddly enough, Michelle, sometimes it looks like just beautiful affection at first because it's this manipulation of like,
Yeah.
gifting somebody things or like, just slowly kind of taking control in a way that looks from the outside like it's a positive thing. But what some people find is over the years that, the more control that they give up in terms of their access to finances, the more this other person takes on that kind of power imbalance and takes on that role of just not allowing them access in some cases, not allowing them to work in some cases. In my case, I was the main earner in our family. However, we had a ton of conflict around finances because we had very different money mindsets where I felt very much like, I'm capable of earning and I want to enjoy the fruits of my labor. My husband at the time really wanted to save every penny and really wasn't comfortable with the way I spent. And it was a real source of conflict for us.
Oh, in so many homes. Yep.
And, for some people, it is actually hiding money. Most of the time when we're talking about financial abuse, it more has to do with that power dynamic. But there certainly are times where one of the spouses is, moving money off the books, whether it's through a small business or it's to family members or, so there's all different kinds of financial abuse that come up when working through divorce cases.
And so what do you think women struggle with the most when they're now in a position where they either want to leave or they have their marriage was ended for them, but they've experienced this kind of financial abuse for so long?
It's hard on so many levels. I mean, on just a bare kind of basic level, a lot of women don't have access to funds. And so just getting the money to actually get up and move or to, have the freedom to be able to do that can be a huge obstacle for a lot of people. And even just admitting it and owning the situation that people are in, because a lot of times we do see family members who are absolutely willing to step in and help out, even if just temporarily, to get somebody out of these situations. But you have to be able to ask for help.
Yeah, well, that's the hardest part because and I hear it all the time. Like, if you go to a parent or a grandparent and their views on divorce are, we stuck it out despite, granddad's affairs and this, that, and the other thing, we don't believe in divorce. So it's going to be hard for you financially. You might as well just stick around. That's the advice a lot of people get. And it's scary and it's unfortunate.
It is. And sometimes when that's the, immediate family member advice, sometimes it's a friend, sometimes it's an aunt, sometimes it's a cousin. The fact of the matter is these things are becoming more talked about. And so people are a lot more aware of some of the things that are going on behind the scenes nowadays. Now, a lot of times people don't necessarily see it in, their friend or family member's relationship, but they're more aware that these things are happening, and how incredibly detrimental they can be to people and to families. And so I think the fact that we're talking about it and we're having these conversations, even like this one, Michelle, to bring it to light so that way people know that there are people that they can ask for help, right? That, we're starting to have these conversations and there are safe people to ask for help to figure out how to navigate these things. But it's more than just access to funds. A lot of times there's a mindset around it. I met a woman with a woman a few weeks ago. She actually physically came into the office. We primarily work virtually now, but she came into the office and she was telling me about this marriage that she's been in, and her husband has been an alcoholic for years, and she's very concerned about some of the behaviors that she's seeing, and really wants to protect herself financially, but has been unhappy in this marriage for a long time. And we looked at the numbers, and when we looked at the numbers, we found out that if she decided to move forward with a divorce, just based on everything they have going on right now, she would be financially fine. But it had taken her years, even just to look at the numbers, to even consider the possibility of what this might look like, because she was so fearful that the numbers were going to tell her that she was stuck in this marriage forever.
And that is everybody's assumption,
Mhm.
like from all income backgrounds, that is the fear, either the fear of I won't have enough to survive